I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Jonny Smith.
And this is Smith and Sniff on the other side of things, in which we answer questions from a live audience. Do we have the question at the back? Right at the back. Let's go there.
Right at the back.
Right at the back.
Thanks, everybody, by the way, for coming. Really appreciate you guys coming tonight. That wasn't your question, I know.
What's in the bag for life in the Eagle quest?
What is in the bag for life in the Eagle quest?
I don't know. I know there is a...
He found it in an auto jumble and we're too scared to...
I think it's some paraphernalia to do with merch, not feces. Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a very sharp-eyed question, though.
That was very good. I like that.
Okay.
No, we've never done anything like that. Although there's enough space in the Eagle, if you were to use a camping.
No. Another question, please. Quickly, somebody. Question.
This is just to give Jonny context. This is 3 girlfriends and 1 wife ago for myself.
Thanks. Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah.
I got
around about that point. I think.
Said girlfriend cleaning her car, which was cool. But she decided she wanted to get the little bits of road dirt, the tar off the side, and she was using a scouring pad. Not a plastic one either.
Oh, wire wool.
Oh yeah, pretty much wire wool. Yeah. So my question for nice and simply is, what's the most questionable cleaning technique you've seen employed on a car?
Questionable cleaning.
Exactly that, weirdly.
Mayonnaise.
Oh, well. No, he said questionable. Not
mayonnaise.
Diesel
Oh, gosh.
steam clean. Oh, yes.
Filth.
Not questionable. Again, excellent.
Yeah.
No, I know somebody who... someone I knew at university, and her parents were quite well-to-do, and she was bought a brand new Renault 5 Campus. You remember those sort of run-out models in the 90s? And she'd only had it, I don't know, a few months, definitely less than a year, and she did the same thing. She cleaned it, not just the sides, she cleaned the whole car with scouring pads.
What?
And therefore, I think, invented matte look paint.
It only had like 1 micron of paint on it.
Well, exactly. That's the thing. I mean, there was a cheap Renault from the 90s. They just went, just wear paint near it and it will be fine. And don't know where that accent was from, but and then she sold that car a few years later to another friend of ours, and he had it for ages, and it was just still matte. And he tried polishing it, and it just wouldn't. It was down. He'd taken the.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. Nuts, but brand new car near us, damn it.
I know a neighbour used to use Jif, now known as Sif,
to
get squash flies and bugs off the front of the car, which are a little bit stubborn in the summer, aren't they? They're baked on.
What's a junt, now known as...
A junt, did you just say?
You're with me now, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I think effing C. I think that was quite bad. But when we were lads, one of my best mates used to wash... We all used to wash cars for neighbours and things, but I was quite a trustworthy person. He, on the other hand, I would say not. And he washed his neighbour's brand new at the time Corrado VR6.
Ooh.
Like, it was about 3 or 4 months old. He washed it, and because he'd run out of his dad's, he's basically stealing his dad's car shampoo and then going round to the neighbours. He just used loads of fairy liquid.
Oh.
And the car was so dry. Do you know what I mean? It was so painfully dry and matte. It was really awful.
What colour was the Corrado?
It was like that aubergine kind of colour. It was a great car.
It's a good colour.
Yeah. That guy was cool,
but not...
Apart from the fact that we later twigged, we were like, he's so cool. He's got that car. And before that, he had a really cool car as well. And then we're like, hang on, he's 53 and lives with his mum. Different times. Yeah.
Do we have another question? Oh, gosh. The hand in the middle there went up with...
Gusto.
Great speed. Gusto. Gusto is the word.
Gusto.
You've got a standee...
I let my daughter drive my car last year and she crashed it.
Oh.
Because of obvious reasons, I had to pay for the insurance, the repair. Have you guys ever let a close family member drive a car and then regret it?
Well, Neither of my children are old enough to drive yet, legally.
You made that sound dodgy.
Well, I might have let them drive. Okay, all right. I had a Citroen Ami once for about a month, and I let them drive it as fast as they wanted around some private property. But what was quite cool about it is I let them go in on their own. So I thought I'll let them be fully independent. Like Danny's going to stand in the middle of the car park and watch you like a ringmaster, like a circus. And then I thought, hang on a minute, what about if they get it spectacularly wrong? I'm not in the car anymore.
Oh.
But they didn't, just so you know. So that was exciting. But then I transplanted that idea onto an actual car in a field. And they may not have been looking at the sort of the contours, the typography of the field 2.5 wheel arch liners later. Have you ever seen like where the car undoes its own wheel arch liners? It's
like stripper trousers, isn't it? And they're gone.
The car did it, Magic Mike trousered itself, and I had to sort of run across the field and pick up bits of expensive plastic.
I don't think I've ever had anything like that. I had a Fiesta ST as a long-termer from Evo, which had some quite big, quite spokey wheels on it that were quite nice. And I lent it to our production manager at Top Gear for the night. I don't know why. And he came back in the morning and very casually he went, "Oh yeah, I've curbed your wheels." And there was no remorse in his voice. He was doing a U-turn somewhere in West London and he just clonked one of the front wheels right against the curb, took a big, like an actual chip out of it.
Bastard.
As I later discovered. And I went... This guy was called Roger. He was a big fan of scuba diving in his spare time, and this once led our executive producer Andy Willman to call him an aquatic twat. He was actually a very nice bloke, apart from curbing the wheel on my Fiesta. And so I was quite cross with the aquatic twat. And some words were exchanged, which culminated in him going, "I don't know why you're so angry. It's not even your car."
Ooh.
And I was like, but it's in my custody and I want it to go back to folds, the shape that it arrived in.
Yeah.
That reflects badly on me.
Yeah.
And I made all sorts of veiled threats about how I was going to get it fixed and bill him. And then, I think a week later, all 4 wheels were stolen.
On your watch or on his watch?
On my watch.
Oh, no.
It's quite a heart-stopping. Has anyone ever come back to a car and it's found it on bricks with no wheels?
Anybody?
It's a horrible feeling, isn't it? Because my first feeling was, what do I do now?
I've had a stereo stolen.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, and I came back in the morning with a smashed window and the stereo was stolen. And that was really upsetting. And then I realised they'd stolen my sunglasses, which were prescription only. and they're really expensive. I'm like, fuck. So I drove around for days with no window or radio.
Somewhere there's a thief who's going, "Hey, cool sunglasses," and then constantly falling downstairs.
Yes, honestly.
It's not their prescription.
Yeah.
My girlfriend at the time, years and years ago, had a company...
How many girlfriends ago?
Oh, God, like...
I've got to know.
2. She had a VW Polo as a company car, and that got broken into... but it had a shape to fit stereo, so they couldn't steal that. But I had one of those old-school wallets of CDs, you know, the sort of faux leather ones, and the thieves didn't take it. I was extremely offended about this.
That's fantastic.
What's wrong with the best of our ha, you heathens? There is nothing wrong with the best of our ha, let's be clear about that.
Well, it's the best, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But... what was the question? I can't remember now. Oh, yeah, damaged the cars. Yeah, so an aquatic twat damaged my Fiesta. But that was okay because a week later the wheels were all stolen, so that's fine. His crime was hidden. In fact, maybe he stole them.
My mum and dad never insured me on their Montego because they didn't. I can say this because they fundamentally didn't trust me. But they insured my brother. They did insure me on the Hillman Avenger. And when I was learning to drive, it's not quite the same, but bless, my dad was teaching me to do a 3-point turn, and I reversed over a low wall on a trading estate. And I basically took about a third of the capacity of the fuel tank out because it propped the whole car up on its weight on the fuel tank. And Dad went, oh my gosh. And we managed to get it off the low wall manually by sort of wrestling it on the tow bar. And then he looked underneath with a torch and went, well, it's not leaking. But ever since that moment, there was not quite as much fuel available as there was before. So, sorry, Dad. Sorry. And this is pre-internet where you couldn't just go, I just want to order a new fuel tank. Plus, also, Hillman didn't exist anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's a bit of a nuisance.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you could go to scrap. I suppose there weren't many Avengers in scrapyards by then either.
There were a few. We used to frequent them.
Probably just have to go and buy another Avenger and harvest it for its organ.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
I don't know why I find reversing into a low wall so funny. It's just it's such an undignified crime.
Like that neighbour of mine that rode her own car off in our cul-de-sac. And our cul-de-sac's about double the length of this room. And she completely wrote a metro off. Completely.
How?
I've said this before on the podcast. Because she was going down the road on a hot day and a wasp came through the ventilation system. And she tried to swat it away and actually drove over a huge rockery of one of our neighbours and just took the whole sump and everything off the car. The car totally shat itself. And I came home from college and there was just these marks across about 3 gardens and then it was this beached yellow, it was like a pale lemon yellow Metro.
Yeah.
It was totally screwed. Sitting off on your own road.
Also driving over a rockery.
Yeah. Can you imagine that with an A-series engine hanging out the bottom?
Oh, God. Well, the problem is, I suppose you take the sump off a Metro, you've also then buggered the gearbox. So.
Quite.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Do we have another question? I saw this gentleman's hand go up first, so that... Ooh.
Thankings.
This is teamwork.
It is. It's lovely. I like the camaraderie here.
Coming here today on the A14, heading for rugby services. Didn't see you.
I went there tonight. Yeah.
Noticed an unusual thing on the central reservation. A 3-legged bedroom stool.
What?
In pink. Nice velour. What is the strangest thing you have seen on the central reservation?
I started to make a note of this years ago because they used to be the strangest things. You know the things that you do, those dummies you do resuscitation on?
What?
Which is basically a torso, isn't it, with a head?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw one of those in the central reservation. Yeah.
That's odd.
Yeah, I know. Lots of truckers' Tizer, obviously. Still don't know how they managed to just place the bottle perfectly fine.
What do you mean?
Well, it's a bottle of piss that's just left really neatly upright.
Oh, I see. But they get through that bottle flip thing, don't they? Maybe that was invented by truckers.
Pissy bottle flip.
In one.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
There's the Highways Agency release every year a kind of top 15 strangest things or quantities of things. And one year I published it in a magazine and it was unbelievable. 5 wedding dresses, a bank safe full of money. Yes. One of those extremely expensive sex dolls, you know, the ones that look real. The Channel, yeah, you do know. The ones that Channel 5 do documentaries on, those ones. They found one of those. So there's been some things, but there's also it's when you see entire wheels and tires
Yeah.
that aren't delaminated. So you go,
What happened?
okay. And I saw once one which had the wheel, the tyre, and then as I drove past, I noticed it had the whole stub axle with the disc, the caliper, and at like a severed brake line. And I went, oh shit, you're going to miss that. You're going to really miss that.
One of the things I enjoy, and it's not unusual, you see it all the time, but I enjoy seeing on central reservations, is an entire front bumper. Because then you can play, what's that from? The fun game for all the family. Extra points if it's still got the numbered plate attached, which I always think is like, you know,
Yeah.
leaving your mark on the scene of the crime.
A trainer is the classic though, right? A shoot, just one.
Yeah.
But actually, you've just reminded me, the best thing I've ever seen, it wasn't in the central reservation, it was sort of slightly in the road. And again, I might have said this on a very old podcast. It was an entirely brand new car with all the tags and all the stickers still on it. It was a Skoda, and it had come off the back of a transporter.
Oh.
It was about 5 a.m. We hadn't seen the transporter yet. We nearly hit it, and then quickly, as I went past, I went, "Oh my God, it's like a brand new car."
Was it just upside down?
No.
Oh.
It had just sort of smashed down. Its front bumper was like, and its bonnet and everything was damaged. And then it had just sort of like gone to the side of the road a bit, but it was still poked into the first lane. But it had all the tags, like loads of clear plastic on it, like the wheel disc covers. And we were like, what the hell? And then we carried on driving, and then there was a Skoda transporter with one space missing at the top. I was like, oh shit.
The smoking gun.
That stuff actually happened. And mountain bikes, I've seen a few mountain bikes.
But that I can understand because they pop off the back of a bike rack on a car. That tracks.
Yeah.
As Americans say. But I don't, the other things.
But an actual Skoda.
Yeah. Like
A full car missing.
an orthopedic shoe or something. It's a bit like, don't you need that?
Yeah.
I don't know. The shoes thing is weird because you kind of go, well, who's gone? I'm so sick of this shoe. Get it out of the car. It just doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make...
It used to be cassette tape as well, didn't it? Fronds of cassette tape.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously that's died out now. It's all MP3s on the central reservation. Look, there's a bumper off a Micra with loads of streaming wrapped around it. It's Charlie XC.
I know someone that went on holiday to Cornwall with all their kids and everything, and they had a roof box, and they hadn't locked it properly.
Oh.
And when they got to Cornwall, they had to buy all their clothes. Which, it really tickled me. He was like, it wasn't funny. Everyone else's clothes were in the boot. My stuff was in the roof box.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so just him, not the whole family?
So everyone else's clothes were safe. He had to
God.
buy new everything. Yeah.
There's a mate of mine who put his kids and his own bicycle on the roof of his car and to go on holiday. And then on the way there, for some reason, they pulled into a town and he drove into a multi-storey car park.
Oh, gosh.
And so he went and bought new bicycles for everybody. And then he did it again.
What? No way.
Not like straight afterwards, but a few months later, he pulled the same trick and drove into a multi-storey.
He needs to buy a tow bar.
I think so, yeah.
That man needs a tow bar.
Yeah. But it was the repeat of the crime was just like, oh gosh. You're beyond saving. Do we probably have time for a couple more questions? Do we have down the front here.
Down the front here, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi.
First of all, if you want to drive with your kids legally, under 17 car club is the right answer.
I've heard about this.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I've heard good things about it.
Yeah. Age 11 plus. Anyway, advert over.
Oh, that sounds great. That's a good plug. I like that.
So, on a different side of things, you've mentioned before Honda Jazz Mags. So, I was wondering,
Jazz Mags.
ignoring the Honda Beat One Out you've just purchased, what's your favourite masturbation-themed car?
My favourite masturbation car, named car.
I could fertilise you with a few ideas if you like.
Come on, Rich, I need you for this.
Oh gosh.
I'm trying to think of car names.
I don't know. The Vauxhall Hand Shandy's always a favourite. I just made that up because I can't think of
The Japanese are great at this.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Are they?
I was just thinking that.
I don't know.
I mean, we're struggling at the moment. You probably need a Toyota quick delivery.
Oh, wow. Or the
Something
Oh,
with a
two-stroke. Very nice. They're in their demise, aren't they, the two-stroke vehicles now?
Mazda.
Yeah. Oh, of course, the Wankel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I felt like a really old bastard the other day because I went up to, I was at a car show and I went up to look at a couple of RX-7s with my son. And I went, what are wankles like to live with? And I don't know if they call them wankles. I think they call them rotaries. And I just went in like an elderly man and used a slightly sex term and went, what the fuck's this guy on about? Felt a bit bad. Wished I could rewound time just for about a minute. But I'm trying to think of any other. Again, I'll think in about an hour. I'll come up with one.
Yeah, we'll wake
really
up in the middle of the night, suddenly go, oh my God, of course.
Yeah.
The Ford
Lexus
funk trumpet or
Sora.
It
something.
was only sold in Brazil, so...
Good van names. There's some good van names out there, I'm sure.
Toyota BJ.
Toyota
BJ?
BJ. Oh.
We've gone a little bit off topic here.
I think so. Mazda
Oh,
Bongo.
the Bongo. We saw one.
We came over a brow while we were driving the Morgan Super 3 earlier on.
And
there was a Bongo magazine.
Bongo.
I think it was a friendly, wasn't it? It was a Bongo.
It was a friendly, yeah.
It was doing a slightly cat-handed manoeuvre in the middle of the road. We could have had a Bongo incident.
We could have had a Bongo incident, yeah.
But we didn't. We'll get back to you on that one. It's harder than it looks.
Pajero.
Not intending to be a...
It's hard.
Right, I think one last question for now. I saw a hand go up at the back, or middle-ish there.
Thank you. What vehicles, cars, bikes, trucks, tanks, have you had the most surprising MPG from, both good or bad?
Both good and bad.
I had a Mitsubishi Evo 10 as a long-term test car, which I hated, and it was ridiculously thirsty no matter what you did with it. Just seemed to do like 15 miles per gallon everywhere whilst being annoying and shit.
Has anyone got a Mitsubishi Evo 10 in this room? No, good.
No. They were too annoyed and left early. Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
I'm trying to think. I know I've done that thing where I've borrowed it would have been a new at the time Disco 4 Land Rover, and I towed a very large car on a very large trailer, and it made no difference to the MPG. And I did that whole thing of like, this cannot be. It's 26 MPG or 24 MPG with 24 MPG with just me on my own with nothing in the car.
Yeah, but the very large car and the very large trailer was only adding 4% to the weight of a Disco 4, so... Fine.
It was bizarre. It was really bizarre.
That is bizarre.
Yeah. And I did it several times, and it was like, no, just the same. But I remember one of the most shocking things. This was years and years ago. It was my first journalist job on a Volkswagen mag, and my friend at the time, he's actually my best friend, and his dad had a classic shaped Range Rover, so like mid-80s petrol, obviously. We borrowed it to drive somewhere, and we were both skint. So we put like 15 quid in it or something like that, and it didn't go anywhere until the red light. It basically counted to 100, and then the red light came on.
Yeah,
we were like, "This is a piss take. Is there something wrong with your dad's car?" And I remember we both got under it and actually we looked for a fuel leak and went, "This is absurd. What's going on? This is witchcraft." And we went and put another like tenner in it, just whatever. And the gauge went up by like 500,000.
Yeah.
It was like, this is not funny. We're not even driving it fast. It was so bad. It was so awful.
Do you remember those? They did a 50th anniversary Defender in a sort of pearlescent paint with checker plate and stuff on it, and a 3.9 V8, I think, with an auto box. Like how you'd synthesize thirst in a laboratory. Sort of, this is old school Defender. So a brick-shaped car with a very thirsty engine with an automatic gearbox.
Oh my God.
4-speed, I think. And I borrowed one, and I noticed... Well, first of all, it was like the fuel gauge behaved like the rev counter. It just went... But, normally, sort of as you get towards the empty, there's a little red band, and when the needle gets in the red band, then you probably should sort of think about going to a petrol station, and maybe the light hasn't quite come on, but it's giving you the early warning. The red zone on that car's fuel gauge started at the quarter tank mark. And it was a way of going... Probably should think about looking for a petrol station. But I've got a quarter... Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. It was so thirsty. And I decided to drive it everywhere. Like, I loved it so much. I was just like, I'm going to go to Scotland in it for some reason or other.
What?
Well, I didn't quite. I did a lot of driving around in it, though. And it cost me a frigging fortune when I was like 23. I couldn't really afford. Sounded good, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, the red zone should have been a warning. Thirsty car.
There's a lot of cars like that, though. Those Nissan L Grands, they're thirsty bastards.
Yeah, that Infiniti QX80 that I borrowed in America. I know it's doing American gallons and they're a bit smaller, but yeah, it would sometimes go, good news, I've done 11. And you'd be like, that's not good news. The computer's boasting about really shit MPG. So, good. Did it really say? No, it didn't really say good news. Though I do remember, it used to get quite it seemed to be, when you sort of, maybe it's just me, but sometimes if you ignore sat-nav, and I always get in my head that the sat-nav's getting angrier with you the more you ignore it. That's not true. It's a computer, obviously, but I can't get it out of my head. And I couldn't get it out of my head that this Infiniti was getting increasingly cross if you stopped and immediately opened the door before the air suspension had finished going into access mode, sinking down. And it would flash up a thing on the dashboard that always felt sort of slightly passive-aggressive. I can't remember what it said, but it was basically, oh, I see you're getting out before I've finished trying to help you. And then you close the door and you go, good, I can get on with my job now. It didn't say any of these things, but in my head, that was the tone of the messages.
Yeah.
I was a bit like, all right,
Yeah.
back in your box, 11 MPG car. Anyway, well, that's probably enough from us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. See you again soon. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.